Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for our cash tag segment. For that, let's bring in Andy Swan. He's a co-founder at LikeFolio. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
All right, so we're talking Apple. I mean, this seems to be the only company, $3 trillion in market cap, that can have declining revenues quarter over quarter over the last year, basically, and still be up nearly 50% this year. It's like Teflon. Do you guys have data that kind of supports this lofty valuation that we've got here?
Yeah, Apple's seen declining revenues, I think, several quarters in a row, like you mentioned. Excuse me. And, we're seeing a reversal of what we think are signs of a reversal of that in LikeFolio data. Really our data suggesting that Apple is having a very nice holiday quarter after what was a really strong keynote event, which kind of sets the table for Apple every year in terms of its product lineup. We see mention buzz, people talking about Apple brands and products to multi-year, multi-year highs during this important holiday shopping season, currently up 25% year over year. On top of that, web visits to Apple's site are up 4% year over year. And we're really seeing traction in both the iPhone and the Mac products, which I think is really essential for Apple, because we always talk about the services revenue, the services business. But in order for that to continue growing, you really have to keep the gateway in people's hands or on their wrists or on the mantle, and that is, the MacBook, the iPhone, or the watch. And to see those hardware items starting to pick up steam in terms of LikeFolio consumer demand data for the first time in a long time tells us that Apple's got some of its product mojo back, and it's definitely not going to be slipping on the services side anytime soon. So we're cautiously optimistic. The stock is priced pretty fairly here near all-time highs. We're cautiously optimistic that Apple can continue to deliver for investors, although we still miss the days of the wow factor product that blows us all out of our seats. We haven't seen that in a while. We don't see anything indicative of that, but on a normal year-over-year basis, Apple hardware is back.
Andy, you just touched on exactly what I was thinking about when I think about Apple, which is we're always waiting, right, for Steve Jobs to come and say, oh, yeah, one more thing. Remember that one more thing that got everyone always excited? But could this be, Andy, the fact that the stock is so resilient, and Tom mentioned the numbers over the last year, not great. Services doing extremely well, though. That's kind of hanging, keeping Apple in the game a little bit. But could it be, Andy, void of some new flashy product that's going to change our lives? Could it just be that the cycle in iPhones is bound to turn back up? And I can tell you right now, they got me. I have a 17-year-old. Guess what she's getting for Christmas? Uh-oh, I hope she's not watching. But if she can, if they can just get a good solid turn up in iPhone sales, this stock has earned where it is and even higher, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your kind of cyclical nature of these products commentary is right on it. We see it in the data. This is, you kind of got the feeling that declining revenues were not going to be the new normal at Apple. And so to see this holiday period, experience significant increase in the real drivers of the future of the services business, that is hardware, so iPhones and MacBooks, to see that happening during this holiday period tells me that the market was essentially right. The market thinks that, the Apple decline is temporary. Our data suggests that we're coming out of that window. Anecdotally, I will tell you, I've heard more people request, AirPods, Apple Watches, or iPhones for Christmas this year than I have in the last couple of years. I think there might have just been that influx during COVID. We saw it over and over again, that COVID pull forward demand occurred 2020, 2021, got the hangover in 22 and 23, and now I think we're ready to bounce back. And I think Apple should be fairly optimistic about its entire 2024 guidance, because those products are making such a great comeback. And to top it off, I know I'm going a little long here, but to top it off, we're seeing Apple consumer happiness ratings up 8% since that keynote event. And that's really critical. It's been critical every year for the past 6 or 7 years. Is just the mood of people, and when they talk about Apple products, is very much on the rise.
Yeah, and Andy, I think part of the problem last holiday shopping season was they didn't have a lot of product in, right? They ran out of headphones. You couldn't get an iPhone before the holiday. Supply chain issues were still a problem. So maybe that's broken through where there's actually going to have product for sale. But if you look at where the price is here now, and the rally that we've seen in the stock, given the pullback, is it still a comfortable buy according to your data?
I think if your lens is significantly long-term, then Apple is always a buy until further notice. I think if you've got a little shorter-term lens or even a medium-term lens, then I just put Apple on my watch list as, anytime I see a 8 to 10% decline in the shares, it's worth picking some up. And that's the way I think we need to think about Apple. The company is definitely not going the wrong direction. Despite the declining revenues of 2023, I think that was a blip and will be back in business in 2024.
Yeah, and I think every investor agrees with you, because every time the stock pulls back, there's somebody out there scooping some up. All right, great stuff as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yep, you too. That's Andy Swan, co-founder at LikeFolio, breaking down positive, improving data here, Kevin, out of this company. How do you want to look at this from an example trade? Because they're still, relatively bullish, if not, moderate at least.